All right, we're live for another Keeping It Real, and we're really excited today to have Greg Harrelson on as a guest. And the topic today is how to prepare for an uncertain 2019 real estate market, because we are definitely going into a real estate market shift, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. So we're going to try and address a lot of that. But let's make introductions first. For those of you that may be tuning in for the very first time, my name is Jeff Manson. I'm a Hawaii and California real estate broker and founder and CEO of Real Geeks. And my co-host is Frank Klesitz, and he's the CEO of Viral Marketing, and our longtime friend, customer, contributor, Greg Harrelson from Myrtle Beach. He's a real estate broker, and his team does 3,000 plus transactions a year. So he comes on here and shares all his knowledge for nothing in return. We don't pay him. He just comes on because he wants to give back. So if you have any referrals in Myrtle Beach, and I think he also has an office in Charleston, look up Greg and his team because they're phenomenal. They give amazing service. I actually did a live on-site hangout. You should go look that up, where we spent 3 to 5 days with Greg's office. I think it was like close to 5 days. Yeah. And it's 3 hours long, but it's worth watching. I know guys have watched it 2 or 3 times, and there is so much valuable information. So I'd go watch that. He's amazing. Frank, can you go ahead and let the viewers know how they can subscribe or view past episodes?
Absolutely. So first off, go to keepingitreal.com. That's where you'll see all the shows that Jeff and I have done over the past, I believe our first one was in 2014, Jeff.
Yeah, I know we're a little sporadic, but we have like 43 or something up there. So a decent amount.
Watch them all there. And you'll also see on the homepage the link to the DVD, so to speak, the real nice video of Greg's office. I really recommend you check that out, like Jeff said. Right at Keeping It Real. Also on iTunes. So if you want to get pushed out, the latest show on iTunes, we're on there. You can go to the Real Geeks Facebook page. You can subscribe there. Also, you could opt in on the Keeping It Real website, and we will only email you updates about the show. There's no other emails you're going to get when you update, when you enter your email there. And obviously on YouTube, on the Real Geeks YouTube channel, you can watch them all. So it's very...
You can subscribe to that. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Greg, welcome aboard, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
We want to get your thoughts on what direction you think the market's going, what things that are kind of uncertain, or where you see the real estate industry and market as a whole going in 2019, or where it's headed based on signs and signals you're seeing in the market.
Yeah, well, I think there's a shift. I think there's a shift occurring. Okay. Now, the important thing is for us to look at that term shift and be careful at what we make it mean, because like there's been many shifts in history, right? And the last shift that we kind of think about is the shift where the market absolutely collapsed and everyone went under. So the term shift could take on many, many meanings. So in my opinion, yes, we are already experiencing a shift. Most markets are experiencing a shift. But the shift seems to be going back to maybe a more normalized market. It's not that it's crashing, but it's becoming more normal. Now, what's unfortunate is in the last 3 to 4 years, it's been an abnormal market. It's kind of like that kid that ate too much sugar, and it's the sugar high. They're running faster. They're like jumping higher and all this other stuff. And now they're going to kind of come down to normal. So if you're at the top of your game running really fast and you start running normal speed, you actually start to wonder, am I slowing down? No, you're running normal. It's just the last couple of years we were running extra fast. So it's really important to get that in your head. I don't think there's a crash coming, but with the shift does come challenges, for real estate agents. And I'll say this before you continue, and that is, I wrote this down as you're doing your introductions, and I says, the consequences of a shift are not going to have anything to do with the market. The consequences of this next shift will have everything to do with how you respond to the market. So a shift, you see a shift, oh my gosh, I might do less sales, I might make less money. The market is not going to cause you to make less money or do more or do less deals. But your lack of reacting, your lack of responding to the new market will be the cause of your downturn. So shift doesn't equal downturn. Shift means maybe we have to do some different things, create some different habits in order to maintain and grow in the new market.
Right.
So don't be afraid of shift. Be afraid of not responding to the shift. That's what I would be worried about.
So what you're saying is you need to start noticing that early on and start saying, hey, things are going to start slowing down. Listings are going to stay on the market longer. And that probably creates opportunity in other aspects of marketing and getting listings. And we can go over that a little bit. Yeah. And, you know, interest rates are going up. So there's going to be more challenges with that. People will be able to not afford as much home and stuff like that. So what are you doing in your business and with your agents planning ahead for 2019 for market shifts that you're seeing, and how are you changing your habits?
Yeah, good one there. So one of the things that we think about is like, first of all, what are some of the things that we may see in the market that are shifting that might not, that's beyond that the average days on the market went from 20 to 30. So see, a lot of people see average days on the market go from 20 to 30, and they're like, 30? That's still fast. That's a 50% shift. So you got to always roll it into percentages so you can see what the real impact is in your marketplace. But beyond those numbers, you have to start looking at other things, and things like this. I wrote down one thing that is that I think that you're going to notice is that the capture to convert to an appointment, capturing leads to going on appointments, just that one ratio, I think is going to actually broaden. And then appointments to them making a buy-in decision is going to actually increase. And all of those things, you go on listing appointments and a seller, you're going to get the I'm going to think about it more often. And even with the best closing strategies and objection handlers, you're going to get more people that are really going to think about it. So the time from the first time you talk to them to the time that you're actually doing business with them is going to broaden. Okay, so there's all kinds of implications to this. If you're a real estate agent and you don't have like lots of money sitting in your savings account, then you could find yourself in a little cash flow crunch. Because if you're used to, you know, the transaction being done in 90 days, you talk to them, you know, 60 days later they're doing a deal with you, or next week they're listing with you. If that time frame doubles, then that means your income, there's going to be a gap of time where your income starts to slow down. Now, why will that time broaden? The reason why I believe that time will broaden is because people turn on the TV and they see the stock market going up 800 points, down 600 points, up 600, down 800. There's uncertainty in the stock market. There's uncertainty on CNN. There's uncertainty on Fox News. There's uncertainty on every news channel outlet that you look at. Lots of uncertainty. There's real estate coaching companies that are talking about preparing for a shift. That's uncertainty. You got Inman and Zillow and all these people pumping out information. So when people are pumping out information through media, and that information is got a tone of uncertainty, then the consumer starts to feel uncertain. And when the consumer feels uncertain, they stop what they're doing.
All right. So
I said a lot there. Sorry to ramble.
Yeah, you said a lot there. So one thing that kept coming back in my head is if it is going to take longer, the process, people are going to take longer time deciding, you better dang well have a good follow-up plan, and you better be persistent, and you better, I mean, these people are calling 1 or 2 times and thinking that, oh, these leads suck or this person is not doing anything. Really, they need to be prepared to make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 calls and be persistent and consistent in their follow-up. And I would also say that they also need to work on their skills. They need to get better at their skills, because if it's taking longer, it gives more opportunity for other agents that are skilled that may come in their life, or they may, you know, meet some other real estate agents. So you better dang well be working on your skills as well. What else would you add to prepare for all? I mean, you just went over a lot. There was a lot there.
Yeah. Another thing that I just thought of, and I just put on my notes, and excuse me, if you guys listen to my podcast, I'm always watching notes. I'm always writing notes as we're talking. I said, we've got to get better at we got to get better at the initial contact. The first contact is going to be critical. Now, I'm not talking about speed to lead. That is also important. I'm talking about when you get that contact on, you better make an impressive impact. right there from the get-go. Because if the buying cycle is going to slightly broaden and it's going to take a little bit more time, then that means there's that many more agents, that many more websites, that many more drip emails that they're going to get from people's CRMs, like saying, hey, here's a property, here's a property. It's going to be easy for the consumer to forget us, because the length of time that it's going to be required to nurture them is going to increase, and they'll be talking to more people. So every communication that you have, you better make an impact. So, one of the things that I'm coaching my agents on, a lead comes in from Real Geeks and we call them, right? And the agent gets them on the phone, and let's just assume that they're going to have another conversation in a couple days, or they're not going to have a conversation for a couple weeks. As soon as they hang up the phone, I'm coaching my agents to immediately send a video. Just text the video. And they have a video on their phones, and it may say something like this: hey, I just hung up the phone with you, and I really appreciate the time, talking with you. I really look forward to helping you. And I wanted to put a face to a voice so you just kind of get an idea on who's on the other end of the phone. If you need anything before we talk again, reach out to me by phone, text, email, etc. Looking forward to our next conversation. You see, they can have that one video saved on their phone and send it out every single time, right? So now that that consumer's talking to them, but they're actually going to see them. They're making a deeper connection. And I think those are the types of adjustments we need to make sure that we're the ones that they remember months down the road.
I think it always comes back to focus and discipline. Got to really be focused when you're talking with somebody. When you're speaking with somebody, you can't be thinking about the next call or the next appointment, or your kids got an appointment in the afternoon. You got to really be focused and be there with them and really be listening. And that takes discipline.
Sure.
And
I want to step into.
Yeah, please.
Greg, you mentioned for a while you had your agents on dialers, triple line dialing, and you thought they were like on to the next call. Would you speak to me about the process of maybe how to make your calls so you're focused on the call?
Yeah. So one of the challenges with dialers is it creates a contact-itis type of scenario, right? Like the dialer helps me make more contacts, and thinking quantity of the contacts is going to show up in conversion. Well, what I found out is that, yeah, I do like dialers. So I'm not anti-dialer. I think there's a place for it. But what we really focus on is slowing it down and going deeper into the conversations with that individual agent or individual client, whether it be a buyer or a seller. And it really comes down to one of the things, if I was going to give you a little tactical thing that you can do, and some of my agents do, is when they talk to somebody, they have like 7 pennies or 7 coins on one side of their call station, right? And the goal is to every time they ask a question, they move a coin from one side to the other side. So the key is to ask 7 questions. If you'll ask 7 questions, then you will be digging deep into the conversation. So there's our little visual, right? Every time I ask a question, move the penny from one side to the other side. And then you see, when you get off the phone, if you only move 2 pennies to the other side, well, no wonder why you didn't get a lead. I mean, you didn't ask enough questions. You didn't even have a conversation.
Yeah, well, it comes down to actually having a real conversation and really wanting to find out what their needs are. And you have to ask a lot of questions to dig deep, to get in there and find out if you can help them or not, and treat them like a real human being instead of just a contact.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think people get wrapped up. I mean, I'm all about making a certain amount of contacts, but it's got to be quality contacts and conversations. If you're just making contacts to make contacts, well, you're just running through the script. You're not listening. You're just trying to think, I got to get 45 contacts today.
Yeah.
You're better off slowing down, like Greg said, and blocking out a time frame, and then seeing how many you're getting in, and then increase your time if you have to get more contacts in to hit your goal.
Yeah. So the conversation of like how it's the buyers and sellers may take longer to make decisions because of their uncertainty in the markets. That there's many challenges that come with that, right? We're talking about there could be a cash flow challenge. You got competition challenge. You got to engage deeper with these people. Well, that all takes time. At a time where gaining leads, if anybody's got a lead problem today, it's actually much deeper than a lead problem, because leads are so easy. We just throw money at something and get leads, right? So nobody should have a lead problem today. If anything, people have I have too many leads problem. And so when you get too many leads, it's hard to contact them all and engage deeper with them. And so if it's going to take longer, the sales cycle is going to expand in time, and we've got more leads than we can already handle. And now we've got to actually dig deeper in every conversation. You're going to have a lot of leads you're never going to be able to contact because you don't have enough personal bandwidth, right? So I remember I was asking you some questions about my buddy. You know him very well, Abe. He created that thing called Contact Junkie, and and what it does, and this is what people are going to have to do. However you're going to do it, you're going to have to figure out how do you make more outbound contacts to your current database by using automation. Because right now, there's a gold mine in everyone's business. Everyone's got too many leads, and they've all got this one category called dead or non-responsive. That right there in the market next year, that is going to be critical to convert business out of that dormant database you have right now, because you've already invested in the cost of acquiring the damn database. So it's really going to come down to how are you going to increase your bandwidth to not only handle a longer sell time, make a deeper connection, and make more contacts at the same time. This is a real issue that there's a few people that have a solution or are thinking through solutions. Those people are going to crush it. But the other ones, I think it's going to be a challenge. These are challenges that I'm anticipating in this coming year.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm all about automation, but they also got to be careful not to over automate. These people, a lot of the agents watching or agents in the industry, they want to automate everything so they don't have to do anything. We're not talking about automating so you can do anything. Automating so we can then be touching on the hotter prospects once they're raising their hand or they're giving us signals through the automation, correct?
Yeah, I'm talking about I'm standing here for 3 hours and I'm making my outbound calls to my database. And then right beside me is a computer, not a dialer, a computer that's running a multi-marketing, type of strategy where it's texting, emailing, voice dropping on this other database. So I'm working in my A database and B database, and then I'll use technology to work on my C database. And then I'll have push notifications that while I'm working on my A and B database, physically making outbound calls, a notification comes to me and say, hey, somebody just raised their hand in your C database. So it's not either or. It's instead of me hiring a telemarketer or an ISA at a time where we've got cash flow problems, right? That's my prediction. Cash flow problems 2019. At a time that you threatened by cash flow problems, you're probably not going to be investing in more staff. Mm-hmm. So what you got to do is you got to use automation in tandem with your own outbound processes.
Right, exactly. Let me ask you another question, because I think in a shifting market and when there's some uncertainty, it actually creates a lot of opportunity for the people that get proactive. What lead sources and what opportunities does a shifting market, when it starts slowing down, create for the ones that are going to be proactive, that are prepared for it?
I think the exciting change that occurs, if that's the opportunity, is that buyers and sellers, and especially sellers, stop trusting their cousins, brothers, sisters, aunts, friend who got a license to actually list their property. So now all of a sudden, people don't value cheap as much as they have in the past. They start to value knowledge again. So if I did some training today with my agents, and I just had them, I was on the hot seat and they're throwing all these objections at me with a recorder, and I don't know what they're going to throw at me. It's completely random. And all I'm doing is handling those objections all the time and recording that so they can learn from that, because their skills must get better so they can demonstrate that they have knowledge, because the consumer's going to hire knowledge. They're not going to hire cheap. That's what happens because they have to trust. They need somebody to help manage their asset in a volatile market. Anybody can manage their asset in a hot inclining market. So they start to scrutinize and judge the person that they hire a lot more. We should welcome that, as long as we're practicing our scripts, learning the dialogue. So that's the biggest opportunity to me. Now, there's going to be a ton of expireds at some point. You know, if some markets have one expired a day, it'll go to 3. Some markets have FSBOs that every one of them is selling. Now, all of a sudden, not all of them are going to be selling. So every category of lead source will be will show additional opportunity for those that are improving the level of skills that they have.
Yeah, because it takes
expireds could double. Who cares if the expireds double? If you don't know how to talk to an expired person and tell them that they're grossly overpriced, then it doesn't matter if there's 300% more increase in expireds. It's going to come down to your conversation.
And then that goes back to the focus, working on skills and discipline.
Yeah.
And you know, I get this all the time. I want seller leads. I want seller leads. I want seller leads. Expireds are seller leads, and they're free. You don't have to pay for them.
Yeah.
You just have to put in the time to work on your skills, and you have to be persistent, and you have to be willing to keep calling them, because it's a big boys game or a big girls game, because it takes some skill. And when they're pissed off, when everyone's calling, you got to keep calling and calling and calling, and that takes discipline and not caring what they think.
Yeah. You know, I mean, one of the role plays that we're doing today, because I know that there's going to be a situation where agents are going to start hearing, yeah, I'm just not going to sell at that price because I paid X. I'm not going to sell it at 400 because I paid 405,000. I just refuse to sell it, you know, because of what I paid for it. And then I said, well, ask them a simple question. You know, Jeff, I'm just kind of curious if that's your method for determining price. I mean, what price would you be listed at for if you actually got it for free?
If I got it for free, I'd be probably market value.
Yeah. Well, what if you actually paid 200,000 for it?
Probably as much as I could get for it.
Yeah. So how does the formula for establishing value change based on what you actually paid for the property? So that's the kind of conversations that everyone should be having right this second. That's what we're role playing in our offices right now. I mean, that was just one that they threw at me, and I happened to just throw that one back out.
Did you just come up with that like that on the spot? What if you sold it for free?
Well, I have at one day in the past I did, but when I came up with it on the spot, and then it was one of those, oh shit, that's pretty good. I never forgot it. I went to that one a lot.
All right, Frank. Is anyone asking questions?
Oh yeah, we have a whole wonderful conversation going over here. So we have the market shifting, Greg, which I think you've done a wonderful job on the conversations and slowing down. And I will tell you something. I've been to Greg's office, which is very interesting. And make sure to watch that DVD. Keeping it again.
It's not a DVD, but the Hangout.
Hangout. Sorry, the wonderful video Jeff produced that cost a lot of money. Go to keepingitreal.com. On the front page, you'll see like Reservoir Dogs. Jeff Manson and Greg Harrelson walking along the beachfront or something like that, or like a bayfront. And watch that. It's about 2.5 hours long, almost 3 hours. It's fantastic. And one of the things you'll notice in there is individuals are making their calls with a printed sheet and a ruler, working one by one methodically through the list. And I remember that. Yeah. Anyways, you shared that. So anyways, one of the questions that was here is let's talk about maybe discounters. Yeah. So here's the market. We talked about the market shifting. Let's talk about everyone coming in and I'll sell your home for a penny.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know what? How do I handle it?
Yeah, so, talk about what you're seeing in the competition there, and just give us your state on discounters.
Well, first of all, I think it's going to continue. And I think, you know, that we're going to see a lot of those listings that are from in 2019. I think that'll be probably a lot of the properties that are showing up on the expired list are going to be from the discounters inventory. So again, there's a little bit of delay, right? There's that period of time where right now they're gaining a lot of traction. They're gaining a lot of traction because people value cheap today. But when uncertainty sets in the consumer's mind, they don't value cheap any longer. And that's the challenge. So, you know, I tell people, if somebody was to tell me, or I tell my agents this, if somebody was to tell me, hey, look, I can list it at 1%. They said they'll sell it to me for at 1%. And I said, they said they'll sell it for 1%? Well, yeah. Well, there is no buyer right now. So the only thing you could really be talking about is they'll list it for 1%, right? Yeah, well, I meant they'll list it for 1%. Okay, well, do you want to list it or do you want it sold? Well, I want it sold. Okay, good. I assume that. Now, but the real question is do you want to sell it for top dollar or do you want to sell it for minimal time? Well, I want to sell it pretty fast, but I'm really looking for the most money. Okay, so good. So I want to talk about how we're going to net you the most money, because the reality is you don't care who lists the property. All you really care is how much you're going to get in your pocket. Isn't that the truth? Right? Like if I could net you more than somebody else can net, you don't even care what we charge. It's about who can get you the most money. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Well, I'll come over tomorrow at 2, unless 3 would be better, and we'll discuss the plan to get you the most money in your pocket. And I understand that you can hire somebody at 2%. I know you can hire somebody at 1%. And I know there's people that you can hire at $200. Matter of fact, if you're going to go cheap, and all you care about is liquidating your property, you don't need to pay 1%. You can do that for $200. That's the type of dialogue I would have.
Yeah, honest, straightforward dialogue.
Look, yeah, it's cheap. You get what you pay for. No big deal.
That's great.
So what other questions we got on there that people are concerned about that are tuna? Because we've gone over some, but I want to find out what they're stressed about, or what they're worried about, or what they want to know about a shifting market.
Yeah.
Well, I think listening to Greg handle these objections is very valuable.
Oh yeah, it's priceless.
What I'm taking away is how Greg just controls the conversation with questions, and the person on the phone is just like, oh, okay, yes,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
So it's like
So
they're putting in your hands.
Frank, when I started doing it, me and a few other agents, our goal was to see, could we go through the entire conversation and never make a statement? Like the entire conversation, setting an appointment from the minute we say hello all the way to set an appointment with never making a statement, always asking a question. That was how I practiced early on. So that's what you see come out is you say I'm controlling the conversation. I say I'm just having a conversation just full of questions.
Yeah.
And that is the control, right?
Yes. One of the things you shared, Greg, is the databases, and maybe finding out this C list of kind of pulling out maybe something from the existing asset.
Yeah,
and Jeff,
exactly.
you have wonderful technology of the stuff that drips out to Real Geeks. You have things that go out. Jeff, let's talk about everyone's existing asset. They have some names, they have some contacts, but they're overwhelmed with like, where do I even start calling this random list?
Yeah.
How do I identify maybe who's interested? What are some of your thoughts on maybe how to pull some gold out of someone's existing database?
Yeah. So listen, I'm a big Real Geeks user. I mean, I don't know how many sites I got, Jeff. It's got to be 9 or 10. Okay. So I am all in on Real Geeks. So I'm studying this CRM a lot. This is what we're really doing right now as we speak. And I was talking to some of my agents about it this morning. Like the latest database that we just pulled was earlier in the week. It was non-active, meaning they have not been active between 90 and 180 days on the Real Geeks website. Okay. So that's non-active for between 90 and 180 days. So they've shown no signs of going back to the Real Geeks website. We then exported that. This is the one we put in that the stuff Abe's doing, where it started texting them and all that stuff. We put them in that program, right? These are non-active. We can't get them on the phone. They're not talking to us. We put them through a program, and then all of a sudden, which is like you could do it manually, just text the hell out of them and whatnot, and we would get approximately a 30 to 35% response rate from that non-active. And here's what I conclude. Non-active in your website doesn't mean non-active. It means they're just not active on your website, but they could be captured in somebody else's website. They're very active. They've just not active on your website. So you got to think like that in the mindset, because if you see non-active and you make that mean dead, that's a big mistake. Non-active means they're just not actively engaging with you. So you go in there and run these kind of like real, just go after them with text campaigns or whatnot, and get them engaged again. And I mean, we're seeing 30 to 35% engagement rate.
Yeah. So
off of the dead database.
Yeah, I agree. So you could do that through the outside texting thing that you guys are working on, or
Yeah.
even within the workflows of Real Geeks. You can
Yes.
go ahead, but you got to filter those out. So you got to go. So like Greg said,
Yes.
you got to search through all your leads, anyone that was non-active between those date ranges or time periods, pull them out and then put them on a program. But you got to have an intelligent texting and an email program and calling them. So what kind of text?
Let me give you a, this is an important number too. I'm going to give you a number, and I know this number because I'm looking at the data. The average response rate for that database is 7 attempts before you get a response.
So 7 texts or just emails and texts?
A combination of 7 attempts. Actually, no, that's 7 texts before we got a response. Here's a problem in our industry. The agent quits before they get there. So this is non-responsive, non-active leads, which most people call that they're dead as a doornail.
Yep.
Getting a 30 to 35% response rate because we created a campaign that's got, well, it'll go up to probably 15 texts, but we're seeing that the average contact point where they engage back to us is at that 7th text or 7 to 8.
So what are you saying in the text, and what kind of cadence is working for you?
Yeah, so it's not what I say, but I'll tell you what I say. Hey, you still interested in purchasing in Myrtle Beach? Mm-hmm. That's not sexy, right?
No.
It's just that I'm going to keep texting them until they respond to me. And eventually, after around 6, 7 texts, they said, hey, they figured out that if they don't tell me I already bought, then text number 8, number 9, number 10, 11s keep coming. Like that's their way to get me to stop asking them if they're interested. So that's really it. And that's where the automation comes in, right? Whether you do it through Real Geeks, you set up your little templates and you just make sure that you're consistently doing that. And then you'll wear them down and they'll finally respond.
Yeah,
and we're all the time on that.
So they don't have to do that manually. They could actually do that through the Real Geeks CRM with the workflows. Because it does follow-up. You can add follow-ups,
awesome.
Tasks, email and text.
Yeah.
All within there.
I like to add, when you start studying like Silicon Valley and you start studying like, what big Salesforce, Oracle, big sales teams to get engagement for sales forces, they have messaging assistants. It's either artificial intelligence or humans texting, emailing.
Yes.
Trying to get a response and engagement, then the engagement sent up to the, in this case, let's say the real estate agent watching this.
Yeah.
Which frees up so much of your time, which is what we're sharing here.
Yeah, and in a year and a half ago, it was all manual. It was like, okay, we figured it out. I'd have a staff member actually going in for my individual agents and say texting 50 people a day. That would be an old database, okay? And so they would do that so my agents weren't getting bogged down. I could have somebody just doing that for multiple hours. So we started doing it manually first and then eventually just built campaigns. But it is so effective. I've been telling Jeff, we've been talking about this for a couple of years.
Yeah. So what else are you doing with your agents to keep them competitive in a shifting market?
It's training, preparing them for a shifting conversation. See, the market doesn't matter. So with the shifting market comes a new dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like that's all. It doesn't up and down is not really. It should not affect us. It's a different dialogue. And so in my preparation is you've got to know the new conversation.
Right.
Pricing conversation is going to get tougher. Pricing competition because there's more inventory. So now we're going to have to price more aggressively. And the consumer has been seeing prices go up and up and up and up and up. And then all of a sudden now we've got to say, well, no, you're going to be the first one to let them know that it's not appreciating anymore. And so you're going to be, it's an art to tell them to let them down or let them in on some news that they didn't even hear before. And it's not the news they want to hear. So you've got to really master that conversation.
Yeah, and you got to know the market really well too.
Yeah. Yes, you should. Everybody needs to know the market. You better go check the data on your market, know the market, learn the conversation, and you got to show up. Like you can't, like if you're really wanting to grow in 2019, you shouldn't be in Starbucks at 9 o'clock. You better be in your office at 8. Starbucks can be at 7, but you got to shift. You got to make some shifts, and you got to treat it like a job again. This we can't get away. It's people are going to find out that they've been riding their bike with a good tailwind, and the tailwind's been so long that they actually feel like 23 to 24 miles per hour that they're going. They actually feel like it's their leg strength that's getting them to maintain that speed. The wind's going to be gone. There'll be no tailwind, and then they're going to be going back down to 19 to 20 miles per hour, and they're going to figure out that they don't have the leg strength to maintain that speed. That's the thing. The tailwind's going to be gone.
Yeah, and you better show up on a listing appointment, knowing the market, knowing the data. And if you're the first agent with that conversation, letting them know the market's making a shift or it could slightly start coming down, you better be prepared to let them and show them how that if they don't price it competitively, they actually might end up taking even less later on. Those are the kind of conversations you got to have.
Absolutely.
Great question. Give me for the sake of the recording and for the audience here, give me some messages that you send out to via text and to some of the leads, maybe off the top of your head, to get some conversation started.
Yeah, and if Jeff could probably better explain this, but remember I created that document. There's probably 100 different text messages that's somewhere in the Real Geeks documents, right? I think that text generation.
It's in the doc somewhere.
Yeah. So, so just right off the top of my head, simple things like, are you still interested in purchasing in Myrtle Beach? Like, keep it real simple. It'll be variations of that type of simple text. That's it. It's going to be a quick little question that they can easily say yes, no, or I might say, hey, did you already find a property? Is there any chance that you could look at a property in the sometime later on this week? It'd be little questions like that would be examples.
But just simple stuff. Everybody thinks that it's like zinger, this magic text, this magic script. It's about being consistent and persistent and doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Correct?
And how many texts did I say you have to send?
At least 7.
7. So the art is not going to be in the messaging. The art is going to be in the consistency.
Right.
I can tell you that right now. I can promise you anybody can write a text, and if you'll text the person consistently enough, you're going to get engagement.
Jeff, what are your thoughts on Zillow? I'm not Jeff. Well, both of you, but Greg.
Yeah.
Again, uncertainties. Going back to people's feelings. Zillow getting into lead conversion business, and apparently, I hear they're paying agents to go open doors now. What are your thoughts on getting more into the business? And how are you hedging on that? And what are your thoughts there?
Well, when you say lead conversion business, what do you mean by that?
They're calling the leads now, I believe. So
yeah. So what you're probably referring to is their concierge, their P something 4 or whatever. The leads come in and they call the lead first, and then they try to do a live connect. Now that just this week, all of a sudden they changed the game again. Okay. So what they were going to do is they were going to take all the leads, not give us any of them, with the exception of the ones that say, I want to talk to Jeff. So all the more basic leads, they were going to contact them and connect us. And they were going to then nurture all the ones that they couldn't do a live connect. And they were never going to send us the lead. They were just going to nurture them in-house. Well, they backed off of that. And this week they announced that they're going to trash that. They're still going to do the live connect, and then they're still going to give us a carbon copy of all the leads that they didn't do a live connect for. So the first thing I want to say about Zillow is ask why the hell are they getting into the live connect? They're getting into the live connect because 48% of the agents would not answer their phone or respond to the leads. And then
40% of the leads on that website.
48% is what they quoted me in a private meeting. 48% were not getting responses. So what happens is then that's 48 out of 100 people that trusted Zillow was going to connect them with an agent, never got connected. So who do you think they got pissed off at?
Zillow.
So Zillow said, holy crap, we've got a problem. We're relying on the agents to protect our brand. And the brand's being tarnished by the lack of agent activity. So they had to take on that activity. So they knew that everyone would get a connect, and then at least no one would be calling in, yelling at Zillow customer service, why didn't your agent call me back? That's why this all started. Okay. And so we're the ones that are disrupting our own industry. We forced Zillow to go into defensive protective mode on their brand. And then they created a system that now nobody likes because they're afraid they're getting too close to the transaction. Well, if we do our job, we don't have to worry about them creating those systems.
The 52% that didn't follow up on the leads are the same agents that are probably saying the leads suck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They suck because they don't call them, right?
Yeah.
So,
the bottom line is this with in my approach with Zillow, and I do participate in Zillow for full disclosure. I'm positive about Zillow. I do believe that they're going to continue to involve a real estate agent for quite a while. I don't know what it's going to look 5 or 10 years down the road, but I think that there's other things going on that's probably worse for us in the next 5 or 10 years than Zillow's going to be. We just don't know what those are. So I think in the meantime, Zillow, the biggest thing that you can take advantage of Zillow for those that work Zillow is understand that they are grading every single real estate agent in the program, and they know which agents are creating the best experience, responding the best, and following up the most. They know it because they're calling the buyers behind us, and they're actually measuring, and they're measuring agents against each other in the market, and that's the type of information that when they make their moves, the people who are performing the best are going to be rewarded. They're going to last the longest.
Here's one thing I want to give my take on Zillow. So Zillow is not going anywhere, but agents can start training their database to use their IDX website that has all the MLS inventory. If they will start calling them, they got to call them and then going through the script. And I know I've said it a million times, but I'm going to say it again. And there's many reasons why they need to be doing this. They need to put their database in the Real Geeks CRM if you're a Real Geeks user. If you got another site, figure out how to do that. But put it in there, start calling them saying, hey, Greg, this is Jeff with American Dream Realty. You know, I got a lot of friends just like you that have asked me to keep them updated on their real estate investment. I can go ahead and set you up on my website on a sold search. It'll send you sold properties when they happen. We'll also send you a market report. Is that something you would be interested in as well? So what they're doing by then is and they can let them know that it's got all the MLS and all that during that conversation. So what they're doing is now they're training their database that your website is the resource. You're sending them sold data. You're dripping on them. You're reminding them you're in real estate. And when they go to the website, if you have the home valuation tool, that's embedded on every detailed property page, okay? If they punch in their address, they're going to get that automated home valuation, but you as the agent are going to get the trigger. They just did that. And once a month, they're going to get a monthly market report back to your Real Geeks website with a one-line CMA style with all the actives and averages, all the under contracts and averages, all the solds and averages. But right below the sold averages is the property search. So they can search for whatever properties they want in their area, and also the home valuation. You are training your database to rely on you as real estate, as a real estate professional. A lot less of them will end up going to Zillow if you would actually do this, but it takes some work. But you're going to actually start getting more repeat business and referrals. Greg Harrelson and all his agents do this very same thing, don't you?
Yeah, you could look in the back end of our account, Jeff, and see we've got thousands of people saved on sold searches. Thousands.
Right. So you become the authority. So you're less likely to have somebody you know dealing with an agent that's buying leads in a zip code because they're actually using your website as a real estate resource. Just a thought.
Yeah. Just one more little tip on it, and is I just in the coaching call that I had this week with my agents, I shared with them that I want them to start putting all of the active listings that they have into Real Geeks. And let's just say they got an active listing, it's priced at $400,000, then they would save a sold search for that community and have the top line price be $400,000. So then what ends up happening, every time a property sells for under $400,000, boom, they get a notification, my active seller, and then put them on a buyer search for that community with the top end being $400,000. So then every time a new listing comes on the market under their price, they get notified. So that's the type of automation that I can use to update them on what's going on. And if the market's sliding, then what's going to happen is those numbers are going to look worse and worse. And then I can go in and it'll be easier to get a price reduction.
Yeah, Buddy Blake uses the market reports and the same kind of thing with his Real Geeks website to get price reductions. And he actually has customers calling him and saying, hey, I've been getting your updates. It looks like we better reduce the price. We're not going to get sold. So, all right. What other questions you got on my friend?
No, that's great. No,
you know, we can go on and on about different scripts and different.
The scripts are good. I mean, we have a script master here. I do want to ask, Greg, I don't want to list my home with you. Redfin's here for 1%. I want to hear it again.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I actually don't want to list your property either. I really want to go direct to closing and skip the whole process. I'm assuming what you mean is you want to sell the property. Is that right?
I do want to sell the property, but it's just I don't want to pay an expensive 6% to a realtor. There's all these other companies out here that could do it so much less.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how much are you wanting to net in your pocket when this transaction's complete?
The most amount of money I can. I need every penny.
Yeah. So I'm going to time out nobody knows that answer. So as soon as you ask that, and I'll go back into role play in a minute, as soon as you ask that question and you figure out that they don't know the answer, then that is my golden ticket, right? Because now I know that they haven't talked to anybody about net. They've only been top line numbers. That's all they're thinking about. So kind of back into it a little bit, Frank. It's like, okay, so I mean, well, realistically, what kind of price are you hoping to get for your property?
You know, I want to get the most amount of money, and it also needs to sell because I have a job transfer.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to assume your property's worth $400,000. So you say the most amount. So are you hoping to get like $475,000, $450,000? What are you hoping for?
I mean, $450,000 would be incredible.
Yeah, I know. So realistically, what do you think it's worth?
I don't know. I just want to pay a lot of a commission money so I can keep more for myself.
I got it. So what price are you hoping to list it for?
Could we list it for $450,000? I don't even know what it would sell for.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we can list it for $450,000. I haven't seen the property. So why don't I do this? I'll come over tomorrow at 2, sit down, take a look at your property. You show me all the bells and whistles, and then we'll talk about not only what you can list it for, because quite frankly, do you really care about what you're going to list it for and what the commission is? Or do you really care about what you're going to, what's that?
I like to list it and someone could pay more for it.
Yeah,
I hear my friends last year, they put their home on the market and offers came in for more than we were even asking.
I get it. I get it. You know, and why do you want somebody to pay more? Because at the end of the day, you get more, right? As a net?
Yeah.
Okay. So really what you're telling me, what I hear you saying is what really matters is how much you're going to net in your pocket. Is that right?
And basically you have a plan here to sell it for more than a strategy to get more money for it and find more buyers than, say, the 1% person.
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't seen your property yet. I mean, I might go and take a look at your property and say, I couldn't sell it for $300,000. I mean, what you can count on is I'm going to tell you the truth. I mean, and if you're having conversations with another real estate agent and all y'all are talking about at this stage in the game is a listing commission and they haven't really seen the house and talked about net, then you're definitely having the wrong conversations. I'm talking about what I can get you in your pocket. In order to do that, I need to look at the property. But I'm assuming based on the questions that you're asking me, that one of your priorities is to make sure when you sell, you walk away with the most money in your pocket. I mean, is that what you're really committed to?
That's what I need. I need this place to sell. And I don't have a lot of room I need the most amount of money I can from this.
I get it. I get it. So there's only 2 things that are going to determine you getting the most money. Okay. That's number 1, the price you choose on the front end and the agent you choose to market on the back end, because those things go hand in hand. And I can assure you that you're not going to find somebody that's more aggressive than me when it comes to marketing your property. So let's get together, take a look at it. I'll show you what I do. And if it makes sense to hire me because I can net you more than someone else that'll charge you less, then hire me. If you feel that they can really put more money in your pocket, then hire them. Does that sound fair enough?
That sounds fair. So anyways, I try to come from the situation of someone that needed to sell and wanted the money, but like even just role playing with you on the side of that conversation, like I just have this feeling of confidence exuding from this individual.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm buying.
That's right. That's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
Commissions and confidence go hand in hand. Real estate's a game of confidence. That's what real estate is. So, I mean, and I really believe I can net them more. I really do. You know, because they're not going to have a pricing conversation with that other company.
Yeah.
Not that much. It's not going to be a high quality conversation. And I haven't even talked about, like, I could even say to you, you know, I'm just kind of curious, where are you moving? And then you tell me I'm moving to Florida. And I say, well, I'm just kind of, you know, I'm just wondering because our market's a little flat. You would agree with that, right? Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, how's the market in Florida? They'll always say, oh my God, the Florida market's great. Oh, really? So prices are still going up in Florida, huh? Yeah. Well, see, that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about, because when you start looking about selling a property and buying another one, there's more than just one listing commission. There's two transactions going on. So what we have to look at is not only is getting you the most money here important, but selling it in the most time is important, because time costs you money in Florida. If it takes you 3 months longer to sell in this market, that means that your purchase is going to be 3 months delayed. And if Florida is still appreciating, then the price you could pay today, or the price that you're going to pay in 3 months from today, is going to be significantly more than what you can buy today. So I will get you to start thinking, hey, let's think about the total transaction, not this one transaction. And then I'll go make a case that even if you have to net a couple dollars less here, but I can do this for you and get you to Florida. So your purchase price in Florida is going to be $400,000 instead of $420,000 because I got you there faster. Then I'm going to factor that $20,000 into this overall equation.
And I just have to share that because the questions we're getting here is, you know, hey, you know, Purple Bricks or Redfin can come in and, you know, is there some specific deliverable that you're going to do that's going to sell the property for more than some specific deliverable that the discounter can't do? I'd like to hear your answer to that, but I just think the answer is confidence in protecting and the feeling you're purchasing of working with someone that's going to guide you. How would you handle that question as far as the actual deliverable actually selling it to the difference?
Here's the deliverable, though, is you that's going to be attracted to one of those other a discount commission and a high price always goes together. Every seller that asks to cut the commission, if you track it, they always ask to increase their price. They always want more than market value. I swear to you, every time you get a cutting commission objection, that same person is going to be a pricing objection too. They go hand in hand. Not only do they want to take my money, they want to take the buyer's money too. Okay, that's a mindset. So reason I bring this up is I'll be the person that convinces you to market your property at the right price. And that right there is probably the most significant thing that any agent can do that'll in fact impact the sale and the net you'll get, is making sure that it's properly positioned on day one, not improperly positioned and then adjusted and reduced and reduced and reduced. It's kind of like the doctor. People say, well, anybody can go to the doctor and the doctor can say, just take a Tylenol 3. You know, and then I got to pay them $1,500 to tell me that I've only got to take this one pill. No, you pay for the 20 years of experience that doctor gained that allowed them to eliminate the 5,000 other medicines that somebody could have told you and narrow it down to that one simple medicine. So on the face value, it seems like, damn, you telling me to take a Tylenol 3 is not that important because you don't see all the other knowledge that's going to come from this. And that's what you're not going to get from those other guys. Now, can somebody go and hire somebody for 1% and it sells? Yes, absolutely that can happen. But what we're talking about is statistics here. Statistically speaking, we're going to outperform them, period. Now, and here's the other question. If you don't have confidence and you don't have knowledge, then you shouldn't be asking for anything more than what the discount companies are.
Yeah.
And that's the key is I feel like no matter what the conversation is, I personally believe and have confidence that I'm going to bring value. Now, we could talk about how many leads I get off of Real Geeks. We could talk about that because I'm going to get more leads than anyone else off of my websites organically than anyone else. My rankings are going to be higher, so I'm going to be there. My Zillow reviews are going to be more. I'm going to get more Zillow buyers. Yeah, we can talk about all that, and I feel like I got a compelling argument about that also. but I don't want to fool you. What really matters is my confidence and depth of knowledge, and that's what people will not
And
go
that's how you
cheap on.
prepare for the uncertain 2019 market. What you just said right there.
That's it. That's it.
So how does someone
people are going to value knowledge. The value
Yeah.
of cheap is going down. They're not going to see value in cheap.
So how does someone, Greg sells, over 3,000 homes a year. Go watch the video. Has a whole sales team. It's one thing to give someone, here's written what to say. It's another to say it like you're saying it.
Mhm.
How does someone watching this immerse themselves into building the confidence that you're doing when it's maybe just them and they're in a brokerage that's not supportive?
Mhm. Yeah, it's the same way if you wanted to if you're a kid and you want to, get on the starting lineup for your basketball team, you may have to actually go to the gym, take a ball, and stand at the free throw line and actually practice those shots over and over and over and over again. And so what gives me my confidence is I don't think anybody role plays as much as I do. Now, do I go and set a schedule at 1 o'clock? I'm going to role play the just listed script. No, I don't do that anymore. But what I do is I run an operation of great salespeople, and every single day I'm helping them learn the sales language, the conversation. So I'm always role playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel so confident, is because of the hours that I've spent practicing. But that's how you get it. You spend hours and hours practicing.
We have 5 minutes left. I think this is worthwhile because the scripts from you are powerful, and we are talking about mindset and knowledge.
I didn't know I was going to have to role play. I'm glad I know. I'm glad I did a little bit this morning, so I didn't.
Well, I could feel the passion. I want more of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I bet it's really cool for the audience, by the way, for the energy they're getting from you through a video conference.
Cool. I hope so.
It's amazing.
It really is.
Cool.
It really is.
I love what you guys know. I love helping out.
Yeah. Well, is the script the same? We had a great question come through. Greg, could you give us a good script to use for people looking to sell to the instant buyer, the iBuyer, Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, etc., if they're in those markets?
Yeah.
Same concept, I'm guessing. You're basically wholesaling your house for convenience.
Yeah. So look, I mean, here's the question that I'm going to always ask in this scenario is, okay, so what do you want to net when the transaction's complete? See, we got to stop. Who cares what the commission is? Who cares if it's iBuyer? Everybody wants a certain amount of money in their pocket, and the real estate agent must determine what that number is, and the conversation can then start. Because if you say to me, look, if your property's worth $400,000, you say, look, I know it's worth $400,000, but I'm okay with a net of $350, so I'm going to go with iBuyer. Well, ho. Do me a favor. Can I buy it at $350? Okay, but most people aren't going to tell me a net that's going to match the model of selling it to an iBuyer. Most people are going to not match that. Now, I know some people can listen to this, and especially if you're in Arizona and some other markets, or Atlanta. I know Atlanta for sure. A good buddy of mine and I talk about this a lot, where some of those offers that are coming in are really coming in strong. They're coming in really strong, like at fair market value. Well, you know what? That's kind of one of those things where there's a market shift. Like, how long are they really going to be able to pay fair market value for a house? Because we all know every one of those companies that are buying, they're also disappointed in how fast they're flipping, and their inventory levels of company-owned inventory is increasing right now. So it's just a matter of time where the carrying cost of that causes them to slow it down a little bit. So when it's new, yes, they're going to test it out. You may lose some business, but I'm always going to want to know from you, Frank, what do you need to net in your pocket? Because yes, you can sell it through that discount broker. Yes, they'll buy it from you. But what we really need to make sure is that you're getting the right amount of money in your pocket. So tell me how much you need to net. Now, most real estate agents, and the reason I'm stressing this, most real estate agents, forgive me for saying this, are so chicken to ask that question.
There's Jeff.
I mean, it is so chicken. They're like, I don't want to ask them what their net. That's personal. Well, if I'm a doctor and I say,
conversation.
If I'm the doctor and I say, pull your damn pants down, you pull your pants down. I mean, I'm the authority.
Right.
I can ask this question.
We're going to quote that on the Facebook post.
But really, if you have the confidence to ask the question, then they'll have the faith to answer it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
They'll have the faith in you to answer it if you'll have the confidence to ask it. They will answer this question.
and it keeps coming back to being laser focused, being disciplined, and persistent. And all that is working on your skills. You really got to work on your skills. And if you work on your skills, it'll be the difference between 30 grand a year and 300, 50 and 500, 500 and a million, wherever you're at.
Joy or pain.
Yeah.
It's like when you have skills and you're feeling confident, it's just so much fun. Like if somebody's in a selling scenario with me, if somebody gives me an objection, like somebody asked me an objection, I mean, there's times I'll laugh. I'm like, really?
That's
okay.
The best
Well, I mean, I really appreciate you asking. I mean, obviously, I'm not cutting my commission. What other questions do you have?
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, let's wrap it up.
All right. I'd like to thank Greg for coming on and sharing all his knowledge and being so amazing. I know everybody got a ton out of it. Thanks to Frank for helping host these, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thanks a lot.